call this meeting to order. It's Tuesday, April 15th, 2025, and it's 10 o'clock, and we're here with the Department of Juvenile Corrections for an annual report. I'm Jay Storm.
Yeah.
I'll turn it over to you, Jay.
Okay. So this is just a report that we do every year. My territory is District 1 and 2, so from basically Grangeville up to the Canadian border. So I meet with all the 10 northern counties and the commissioners and give a report to their specific county. So
Okay.
So if you just want to turn to that first page, and a lot of it's just data, so don't be afraid to ask questions if you don't understand or seeking clarification on all that. Mike and Christy answer, because they're the smart ones in the room. Okay, so youth arrest, that first page. So this page reflects a breakdown of arrests and petitions for the past 3 years and the type of charge. So you can see in 2024 there were 17 youth arrests. That's a jump from 2025 or 2023. Detention admissions, there were 8 in 2024 compared to 12 in 2023. Youth petitions, there were 28 in 2024 compared to 26 in 2023. The next bars down below, these are the types of charges that were filed in Shoshone County for 2024. There were 5 felony charges in 2024, 26 misdemeanor charges, and then 4 status offense charges.
Could you remind me what a youth petition is?
You want to answer it, Christine?
I can answer that. When a report is submitted to the prosecutor's office for review, they determine whether or not they're going to file charges. In the juvenile justice system, charges are referred to as petitions, so it's like a criminal complaint for a juvenile.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next page says probation and diversion. So this is just a comparison of releases versus intakes and the success rate of each program. So you can see there were 13 releases and 14 intakes in 2024. So about the same numbers as last year. Actually, all 3 years are pretty comparable. Diversion intakes versus releases, 6 intakes and 6 releases in 2024. Probation success rate, 92% success rate. And then diversion success rate, 100%. And what that success rate, as far as like probation, 92%. So that doesn't mean that kids come on probation and they just do a stellar job on probation. They can actually have PVs filed and stuff like that. But if they do so bad on probation that the judge just says you're going to serve your time, you're off probation, then that's considered unsuccessful. So but that's still, I guess that shows, I guess, engagement that Christy has with the kids. You know, they're able to, even if kids might have some trouble on probation, you know, she's able to work with them and, you know, get them through probation successfully. That next page, intake. So this is just an overview of the area's average youth offender. So the average youth offender for Shoshone County is 14 to 16-year-old white female, it says. So it's usually white male, but there's been, I think, an uptick in girls getting in trouble in Shoshone County this past year. See race at point of intake, 90% white. Down below, age at point of intake, you see that 50% of the kids being the 14 to 16 years old. One thing that I was talking to Mike and Christy about earlier is that we're seeing more kids kind of statewide and in some counties in District 1 and 2 where that 11 to 13-year-old range is starting to go up. So more kids are getting in trouble at an earlier age. Haven't necessarily seen that, I don't think, in Shoshone yet, but that's kind of a trend that we're seeing in the state. And then that gender at point of intake, so males and females, you can see that it's a 50-50 split. So usually in the past it's been maybe 30% female and 70% male, but we're just seeing that jump in females getting in trouble and being on probation. So. And then the next page is the September 30th snapshot. So this is just a one-day snapshot that we take a look at Mike's department. And so September 30th, 2024, it just kind of shows what's going on or what was going on in Mike's department on that day. So there were 18 kids on probation at that time, 2 kids on diversion, and there were no kids committed to the state. And there's currently no kids committed from Shoshone County. Usually you might have one every couple years or so, or
The numbers have drastically gone down.
yeah, hasn't been too many lately, which is good. I mean, that means that it's better to keep kids in the community and served in the community than like commitment should be the last resort. So anyway, that's a good number. You see there's 190 hours of community service completed in 2024, and then $811 of restitution was paid directly to the victims. And then that next area over there, the percentage of youth who recidivated at 612 in 24 months, you can see 12%. That's a really good number. Nationally, it's in the 23 to 25% recidivism rate. I think that might be one of the best numbers statewide as far as that goes. So that's just showing that kids are getting help on probation and staying out of trouble once they get out. So, and then the last page talks about state funds. So these are the funds that Shoshone County receives from the legislature, funds spent on juvenile treatment and in the community, and percentage of juvenile justice budget these state funds make up. So for the JCA money, 24,836 was passed down. Legislative pass-through funds, tobacco and cigarette tax, 27,778 was passed down. And then the lottery, 5,461 was passed down. Usually the JCA and the tobacco and cigarette money, they're usually pretty much the same year to year. Lottery is based on winnings. So, if there's ever a big jackpot, which sometimes there is, that number can increase drastically. So, and then the next spot over there, the state behavioral health fund spent on juvenile treatment in the community. There was $107 that was spent on one youth for substance use disorder. And then the next spot over there, juvenile justice percent of state funding. So you can see 25% of those pass-through funds make up Mike's budget. So. And that's it. It's a pretty short and sweet report. You guys, Shoshone's numbers are pretty low. I think like Shoshone and Benoit both have kind of lowercase numbers than like Kootenai or Bonner or Nez Perce, but sounds like things have been pretty quiet on the home front here. So plus Mike and Christy have been doing it forever. So.
You've been doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can tell you from my standpoint, this report really shines because of Christy's work with the kids and their families.
Thank you.
Those numbers were low because of that. So she's doing a great job, and that's one of the reasons I wanted her to come down here, because I've said it before, but now you get to see that this is the person that's working with those kids and spending the time with them. So I'm giving her great kudos for this work.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You're most welcome, and thank you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Much appreciated.
When you look at all of this in summary, what does this tell us about next year? I mean, where are we trending? Are we keeping up? Are we falling behind? Are we?
As far as new intake numbers, I think we're trending a little upwards at the beginning of this year, but we have several probationers that are set to be released in the next few months. So I think our numbers will stay about the same. We do have several pending cases. I think we're going to see an increase in our sex offender caseload for juveniles, just given their petitions. So, but I think we're going to be comparable to the last couple of years.
Okay.
I think it's not in this report, but something that's going to be a change is the cost of our detention over in Coeur d'Alene. And I know you guys have seen that request. I think that's one of the major financial changes they're going to be. As far as some of the funding that we use for our kids for treatment, things like that, unfortunately or fortunately, we can look at it that we have lower income folks, so they're Medicaid. So that's why you don't see us using a lot of the SUDS funding in that last page. So those funds are being used appropriately, and of course we're using the Medicaid first. So that's why we're not seeing a large cost to the county or in the budgetary area.
So Medicaid will cover their housing over there?
Well, for the treatment, like drug and
treatment.
alcohol treatment and any individual counseling and stuff like that. So that's what that covers.
Okay.
It doesn't cover their housing.
These aren't in-house.
No, this is outpatient treatment.
Outpatient
what
treatment,
I'm
sorry.
discussing. And we do have available to us for inpatient, but we just haven't had any kids that met that criteria. So we're pretty lucky in that area too.
Okay. Any further questions?
I appreciate the work.
Yes.
I know how hard it is.
We always like to have these kind of meetings.
Yes.
That's good news on a sunny day.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's good news.
for sure.
Good news is always good news.
Yes.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.